Okay. Welcome back. It was a great dinner last night. I think it was lovely to see everybody and have the governor join us. I think we have everybody. I'm going to hand over to the very talented Gavin Blake to give us a summary, a recap of yesterday visually. So over to you, Gavin.
Thank you. Rightio, so we are running a tiny bit behind, so I won't be very long, but thank you for having me. So we started off our day with Tamerlane giving us the, this is a recap of yesterday, by the way. We started the day yesterday with Tamerlane giving us our overview and talking to us about Menti and, asking where we're from, doing a bit of ice breaking and check-ins. We then, now, where is the, I think I've lost the, there we go. We started off with Clem and Kwali doing our Welcome to Country. Personally, I love hearing these voices. I think that whether these voices would be not quite so grounded and yeah, I really enjoy being around First Nations folks. They are so gentle and kind and informative and just flowing with story. So so wonderful to have them here. We then had Susan give her perspective and sort of open for us, and that was followed by Sarah, just let you. I think if I talk over it too much, I think it's a bit hard for you to sort of read and see. So I'll just sort of give you a bit of an overview and let you have a bit of a look. And I think over time, the little caricatures will get better and better. It's much better than last year's one, slightly. Okay. Then Tamerlane gave us our sort of process overview and introduced the session and did our icebreakers, and we got onto Menti, which I love the Menti program. I love the subtle little animation that it does as well. Fantastic program. We then had the intersections of water and climate with domestic and foreign policy panel conversation. Fair bit of detail there. Kate and Chris's sort of mini keynotes on the left-hand side with the panel conversation on the right. And then Dr. Analak gave us the wonderful chat on the mighty Mekong. That was very inspiring. So complex, and we're talking about things like the Murray-Darling Basin and so on. Interstate issues where we've got intercultural, international issues here with the Mekong River Basin. That's fascinating. Now, these ones I'm not quite done with yet, so I've just given you the sort of ghost version of the sort of sketches of the cultural walks yesterday. I'll finish these off today, but this is a very quick sort of sketch of Clem's one. They're purposely sort of faded because I didn't want you to quite see the whole thing. I want to sort of reveal this later on. I don't know. I got super emotional going through these. Again, hearing these voices with plenty of time, and talking the way they talked about the trees, just so beautiful. And there's Kylie's one. So I'll finish that up tonight. I'll probably show these at about lunchtime or so. But yeah, that's me. Thank you. Oh, one other quick thing, sorry. So these are, I don't just do these for the session. So these are sort of, these are like devices for you to remember the event with. So post-event, use this to remember the event and also use it to share the event. So when you get back to your organizations, use this as a prop to, I guess, to share the event. You hold more memory than these hold. These are sort of like, memory joggers and yeah, like a prop to tell the story. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Gavin. It's now my great pleasure to introduce someone who's known to everyone here, I think, Bob McMullen, who is chair of the Australian Water Partnership Advisory Committee, to provide some opening remarks. Thanks, Bob.
Hi, thank you. And I don't know how Gavin does it. He does it every time, and he manages to summarize complex issues graphically. I just want to say one thing by way of introduction, then I'll get to my main point. Yesterday, I know, was International Women's Day, and I want to link that to what I said last year about people with disabilities, and remember a wonderful woman who died 2 or 3 days ago called Judy Heumann. She was an American trailblazer for people with disabilities. She was born, she had got polio when she was 2 and was in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. She first came to notice because she qualified to be a school teacher, and the city of New York said, no, you can't be a school teacher, you're in a wheelchair. And she took them to court and she won, and started the process which led to the American Disabilities Act. And then she was in San Francisco. So of course, she occupied the office of, with other people with disability, the United States government office in San Francisco for 4 weeks, until they changed their regulations and laws with regard to people with disability. Then she became very active internationally. And when we in Australia decided to make disability a priority, she was incredibly helpful to us. And she also had a sense of humor. Her name is Judy Heumann, H-E-U-M-A-N-N. And she called her autobiography The Importance of Being Human, which I thought was a lovely way of saying everything. And I just want to recognize her wonderful contribution, not just for itself, but because it raises a few of the issues we were dealing with yesterday. Now, how many economists are there here? This is not like Tamala. You're not going to have to stand up. I just want to know. Okay. How many lawyers? All right, I'll tell the lawyer's joke first then. There's fewer of you. But when I was at university in Western Australia, I wasn't doing law, but I had a friend in the law school, and he said, and this was so long ago that it's politically safe now, there was the first graduate of the law school of Western Australia had become Attorney General of the country. And somebody said to the dean, aren't you proud? The first time there's been a UWA graduate as Attorney General. He said, yes, but why did it have to be him? I always felt my economics lecturers thought that about me, but fortunately I didn't become treasurer, so they didn't have to slash their wrists totally. But I do want to tell a story about economists. Some of you might have heard it. It goes like this. There were 3 people stranded on a Pacific island, desolate place, an engineer, a scientist, and an economist. And they had no food, and a can of beans washed up on the shore. And they said, how are we going to open this? And the engineer said, well, look, we can take this piece of wood and attach it to a rope, and we swing it and it'll hit the can and open it. Oh yeah. The scientist said, well, look, if we heat it up, the gases will build up and it'll explode and it'll open. Oh yeah. And the economist said it very smugly, saying, he said, first, let's assume we have a can opener. Thank you. So I want to talk about, I want you to assume something. That was the purpose of this joke, apart from the fact that I like to score points from my old economic colleagues. I want you to, because you're going to have interesting conversations later, and I just want to put some things out there for you. I want you to assume that not only has there been AWP phase 3, but in 5 years, we're just about to enter into AWP phase 4. And it's twice as big as it is now. So what's it going to be like? I don't need you, I don't want you to get on Menti and answer the question. I just want you to think about it so it feeds into the conversations you're about to have. Will it just be the same, only twice as big? There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you think. But will we do fewer, bigger projects that have more capacity to deliver development impact? Or will we be able to work more effectively with some of the other institutions we work with whom I don't think we have a very efficient relationship, like the ADB and the World Bank? I know I'm always complaining about that, but I am again. These people with $30 billion budgets who come and ask for money for us with a $5 million budget doesn't actually make much sense to me. But can we work more effectively with them? Are there ways we can work in a more long-term way because we've been around now for longer and we can have more impact, implement, see what we are initiating being implemented by the countries with whom we're working? Those are the sorts of questions I think we need to contemplate. And that's a sort of mechanism I often use to say, what would we do if we had twice as much money? It's a way of setting priorities. Because if you don't have priorities, if everything's your priority, you don't have a priority. It's like saying, oh, do we want to do A or B? The answer cannot be both, right? Otherwise, you haven't got a choice. You haven't got a priority. So I think that's the sort of thinking I suspect we need to feed into the subsequent conversation. There's, of course, one other major reform which we need for AWP before the next partners workshop: better coffee. I thought that'd get a response at least. Yes. And those people at the zoo wouldn't even let us in to buy a better coffee. It was terrible. Okay. But I really, as I say, I'm not looking for answers to those questions, but I think they're the sort of questions we should be discussing. So I'm really looking forward to today's discussions and what we can do over the next 12 months together. I'm full of anticipation for, first of all, what you're all going to say today, and then what great things you're going to do over the next 12 months before we meet again. And I think for AWP and for all our partners, it's an exciting time. We think, we're optimistic there's going to be a phase 3, and that will enable us to do more and better things and continue to do some of the things we do. And we really look forward to your input during today's discussion about not so much about how AWP can do it better, but hopefully we can learn some lessons from the discussions you have about the way we can improve our performance, do more, do better, and make a better contribution to the way I sum things up. Golly, was it only last night, saying what we're doing is trying to make the world a better place. And if you can contribute to that conversation in a way that helps us do that, I'll be very grateful. And thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. I'll hand you back to Tamerlane. Thank you.